This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome in, everybody. Wanna bet on the air? Thank you so much for hitting that download button. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my boy Phil, had himself a great week. First week of online betting. Phil did his thing. He had some losses from playing daily fantasy sports, which I think is a huge, interesting racket because I think all these players, all these sophisticated players, have multiple accounts and they do these weird things, so that makes it almost impossible for the average Joe to win at daily fantasy sports. But in the world of online betting, I mean, these sites, my goodness, the way in which they're trying to acquire players has been great. All the fun bets. Good stuff, Phil. I'm proud of you. You had yourself a great first week.
Yeah, like you said, I sent you a screenshot of what was in my bank account Friday, but I started last Thursday with $21 and I got $585 in the account right now.
So damn, $581, a profit of $560 or so. Tell me a little bit about the bets you've been making to help get you to that point.
Well, I mean, a lot of it was I took advantage of the free bets that I got early to start, and so with the PJ Tucker was the one that I was talking to you about last week. That hit, so I won 100 off of that. I got the Pistons over half 3-pointer made, so that won. The touchdown boost, I got 50 off of that. This is the one that really made the week, though. So I got a boost for the first scorer in the NFC Championship game. It went from Mike Evans went from like plus 135 to plus 1250, but all I could bet was $25. But I took it, and well, you know what happened? First drive, Brady hit him in the corner of the end zone, so I won $337 off of that one.
So there's the win right there. You bet Mike Evans, and you posted it on Facebook, and you said, I think I'm doing this, and people questioned you, and you did it again in regards to basketball. You said, hey, I think KCP is going to hit a lot of points in his next matchup, and he did, and people doubted you. Some people took advantage. I did as well. So good for you. Now, the good thing about you, too, is you learned also to avoid bets where your mind said, I'm not exactly sure. And guess where those two came from? From your boy. So that's good. I'm like, Phil, I think it's great. I mean, I bought into the hype. I at first was like, Conor McGregor's going to do it. I just felt like, okay, let's just do it. Let's just put in an account. Phil said, do it. It's easy. So I'm in on DraftKings. I initially said I wouldn't, but one small deposit's not going to do anything, and let's see what happens. It's for fun. I don't have to do it multiple times. Just one deposit, see what happens. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Conor McGregor. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then all of a sudden I started reading and realizing he's been off for a year. You read the info. Phil was like, I'm not feeling it, dude. I don't think something's going on. And everyone was like, you know what? The value at plus 250 on Dustin was really worth it. So I'm like, I was like, I don't know. I feel like if I put money on Dustin, then Conor's going to do his thing. But then what's great in the world of betting is that people post big bets, and like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before the fight, someone dropped like $100K on Dustin at one of the sites, and Darren Rovell, who's big in the gambling world, he posted it, and I said, I think I got to hedge this. So I took Dustin on the other side to hedge a little bit. So it brought the bet down. Still lost, but I couldn't believe. I was really surprised. It was a second-round knockout. A lot of people put money on Conor McGregor just based off of his history and the fact that he knocked the dude out or got a victory over Dustin damn near 6 years ago. But when you take a year off, I should have paid more attention, took that into consideration. But lucky for you, you didn't take that bet.
Yeah, you know what, dude? We were talking about this last week. It's all about research. Like McGregor, and you alluded to it, a lot of people just go off of his history and whatnot. You have to be active, especially in that sport more than anything. You have to be active, and Dustin's been pretty. I mean, Dustin might not have been as active, but he's still not. I mean, McGregor's sitting there, he's dicking around. He's not training as well, doing some of the things that he should be to where what got him to, the championship shape. And from what I seen, I didn't see the fight, but I heard he paid for it. I heard he looked pretty bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, he paid for it, and then of course he created a meme because his ass was laid out in the octagon. It's one of the early ones of 2021. Conor McGregor knocked out, just like Nate Robinson. Robinson was face down. This one was face up, and it's much worse, I think, when you're face down at least. But for Conor McGregor, it's just, I think, a payday. You're right. It's so true, Phil. Once someone pays you $100 million for a boxing match where nobody really believes you're going to win, how really hard can you train? How hungry can you really be? You've done it all. You've traveled the world, and you got all that cash. There's nothing left for Conor McGregor. You started a whiskey company, or you're part of a really successful alcohol brand. There's not that hunger there. That guy's gone, and it's unfortunate. It costs a lot of people money because, and I do think that in the world of gambling, people like long odds like that, plus 250. I mean, people will easily throw $5 on it, $10 on it, just for the opportunity to, hit, because the value was obviously there. A lot of people bet Dustin, and I'm thankful that I came across that situation. And same for me. I've built my way back up a little bit, took some free bets. So thankfully, and then I hit, obviously I got lucky. The Pistons had played, I think, the 76ers, and it was a second time. They played them well. And I said, Pistons plus 6.5 against the Sixers seems pretty fair. I'm like, that's kind of unfair. I mean, it's like, I think that number was way too high. I felt like, okay, this is pretty easy. So I put $25 down there. So I'm inching my way back. I got a couple free bets that will put me down maybe $25, $30 total after the Super Bowl. And then we'll make maybe small bets along the way in the next couple of days based on your advice here in the later portion of the show. But I like this. I like DraftKings. I like the setup because it's easy. I like the ease where you can push the two bets and it automatically generates a parlay bet. And I lost, obviously, where I believed I took a free bet from DraftKings. I thought it was going to be the Green Bay Packers taking on the Chiefs. I bet the Chiefs straight money line, thankfully. Now, you know what's interesting on DraftKings, which I have not really paid attention to or seen too much because I'm new to the online gambling. You make a bet, and let's say you make a bet of $25 and you have the potential to win 75. Let's say you're taking 3-1 odds. They will give you the option at some point during the bet to cash out. And that adds a layer of fun to it to be like, oh, do I take the guaranteed money or do I let it ride? And I think that's interesting. Why do you think they do that?
Well, it's partially to offset some of their possible losses. Because if you watch, and I'll be honest, I've really been keeping an eye on, especially with the NBA. I've sort of got roped in, and I got to be careful with it. Luckily, I'm only doing $5, but you can actually bet the next shot. So I'm sitting there watching that. I watch the line. The lines are constantly fluctuating throughout the game. You can get, so Baylor beat the brakes off of KSU last night. And I actually I took them, and I took Colorado, and I sort of dipped it down a little bit. So I took 4 points off each team, and Colorado barely covered, but Baylor beat the brakes off of them. Well, midway, I think within the first 5 minutes of the second half, all the betting was shut off on Baylor because they were such a huge favorite. They killed the over. They killed all the action. They're trying to look out on their end too, because they're seeing which games they're going to get hit on, and if they can possibly edge so 2 nights ago, Drake played last night and they played the night before, and they played against Missouri State on both. Drake was projected to win by 3.5. And they were getting beat up in the first half. So I looked and seen I could back some of my money out, and I did. Well, they ended up covering. So it looked like a good thing for me at the time, but it ended up costing me money in the long run.
Absolutely. You took a chance too. You had a chance to hit a big parlay, and I think you fell one player short. Why did you go? I know we've talked about it. Parlays are tough, but I think you did a 5 or 6 team one that had people with triple doubles, wins. You mixed it all in there. Where did you come across the basketball parlay you tried, I believe, on Wednesday night?
So I was just looking at, and I was just looking at some of the games and unfortunately basketball's been really tough this year, just from the COVID perspective, how shorthanded everybody's been, all those factors. But like some of the situations, like, so I took Jokic to not get a triple double against Miami. He wasn't going to get a lot of assists. I thought him and Bam were going to battle for the boards, and he's good for at least 20 a night. So I didn't feel a triple double was going to be there. That covered. LaMelo Ball, if they could get him on the court a little more, he'd probably be averaging damn near eight or nine assists. I personally believe he's got really good vision. So him over 4.5 assists, I didn't think that was a bad bet. And then Gobert, I looked at the stat line this morning when I woke up from that. He had 29 points and 20 boards. So the only thing I didn't cover on was, and this is probably the one that, well, I actually didn't cover on two of them. I thought LeBron would have been a lock to get a double-double against the Sixers. I mean, he wasn't going to get guarded by Embiid. So who's really going to stop him from grabbing the boards? Or, I mean, hell, he could have been serious threat for a triple double there. But Aaron Gordon's the one that's sort of like I shouldn't even thought about. I posted him to get a double double and he didn't even come close. But so I've been trying to, like, and I'm not doing as much research as I need to be. Like I don't have some of the analytic tools that I should be using as well to make some of these decisions, but I'm following basketball enough, at least the pros, to be informed to make some of the decisions that I'm making. Like, if I don't know, have you looked at the slate for tonight?
No, is it good? I know, obviously, I'm confused because both, obviously, LeBron and the Lakers played on Wednesday, and the Pistons obviously looked terrible. My gut would tell me to bet the farm on the Lakers money line straight up. But it's not good value, and the Pistons could rise up. You don't feel confident. You know, the back-to-back, I think from the NBA's perspective, you got to avoid because who knows? I mean, talent-wise, the Lakers are way better than the Pistons, but, you know, with the line in that situation, I'm just going to avoid that altogether.
Well, it's funny because the line started at 10.5, and it's already down to the Pistons at plus 7.5. So, I mean, 3 points is a pretty big swing, and in just like the early hours, and there's still 5 hours to go before game time. So I would feel it all depends on if Anthony Davis is playing tonight, because he was having a little bit of issues near the end of that game, like with his leg and whatnot. And on a lot of these double doubles, these back to backs, they've been keeping an eye on his minutes. Now LeBron's definitely gonna play, even though he's been questionable like every game. So I wouldn't really worry about that. But it's definitely surprising that the line dropped 3 points.
So fill those in that are novices, because we do got a lot of people that listen. Some people are first timers. Some people are very experienced and making a lot of parlay bets, things like that. When a number opens up at 10 and it gets bet down to 7, what does that mean? Where has the action been going?
It's going on the Pistons. So because everybody obviously, I mean, or the majority of the bettors who are betting on it, they're driving the Pistons up because they think that line's too good. I don't see the 76ers I understand the Pistons played the 76ers pretty good, but the first game was pretty close, and then the Pistons won, but Embiid wasn't in that game. So this is it. I mean, I guess they might be going with the same logic that if AD's not playing, the game's going to be a lot closer than it should be. So from that perspective, you know, it might not be a bad bet to take them at 7.5.
Yes, and those that got lucky got in at 10. So what you're saying is it started off at 10, and then all the money early on, people took the Pistons and the points, and then the book said, okay, we got to bring it down so that we can have the opportunity potentially to limit our loss, because so many people put their money on the Pistons at plus 10.
Yeah, and now I'm curious now, just because I know DraftKings, I know all the other books, you know, they've got their own thing going on. But there was a big thing with Barstool Sports where Barstool Sports kept adding a point to the spread for the Pistons, depending on how many people had bet Detroit. I'll have to try and find the post for you and show it to you. But at one point, the spread was plus 44.5 for the Pistons against the Lakers. So to be honest with you, some dumb shit like that could also be weighing into, like, these sites are taking the action and seeing where all the action's coming from. Something like that, like, because everybody's getting action on the Pistons, might also be throwing everything off as well. Just because of some of these little, like, these sort of, I call them like niche bets now, just because of the way, like, all these sites are trying to, like, you know, get the bettors on their into their door. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I think that, you know, early on in terms of the fun and the free bets you can get, yeah, you can limit a couple losses, take a couple chances. Like I said, I threw a parlay down. It would have been cool if the championship game would have went the way it was supposed to, but I felt confident straight up betting Kansas City on the money line. I kicked myself. I should have bet more, but you never know because you just second guess yourself. The numbers indicated that Buffalo couldn't keep up offensively. They couldn't cover the tight end. And obviously, you know, Kansas City took advantage full force, but the game started off 9-0. So I would have been having a heart attack had I put a G down on it. But, you know, Patrick Mahomes, you don't bet against him. The man is legit. And now, you know, next week's show, we'll definitely break down some of the fun bets and things like that. But so far, so good, Phil. Plus 500 in your first week. I think that's a safe strategy. Just keep making these small bets. I think you're doing a good job taking advantage of these player bets. Why did you go with KCP getting some points and getting, I think, 9? You bet that KCP would score 9, I think, against Cleveland?
Yeah, over 9.5. He barely covered, but I got some info, and you're gonna have to forgive me because I was checking something out online. But Cleveland is like basically one of the worst teams in the league, like at defending against the shooting guard. So, and KCP is normally good for hitting at least a couple threes a game. So I just thought that with my free bet there, that was probably about the safest thing that I was going to have. And I got lucky and it paid off. Like I took another prop bet last night with Draymond over 5.5 and he got to 6. So I covered that one as well. Like these lines and these analytics that these sports books are rolling out, they have been like super duper on point, man. It's like, they're literally right at the number, either barely covering it or barely going under. So like you gotta really pick and choose your spots, man.
Yeah. And true. The numbers are amazing. And I've watched, I don't know about you, I've watched several documentaries about how the number is made and the sheer expertise it takes to set a line. It's unbelievable because these books, you know, they're not in the business of losing money to that degree. And when a line is set, it's amazing how they advance it and how players can move numbers up and down. It's fascinating. They have trends. I mean, the Action Network, I don't know if you've ever checked them out. They have trends based on who's betting. It tells you where the money's coming in at. It's really down to a science. And I think that's what you said last week is that you're doing your research, really looking at the data science of betting. And so far, I think you've taken a good opportunity to pick and choose your spots and limit your exposure to dangerous bets. And that's the way you should just keep doing it. I think we're going to hit our goal way before episode 50 at this rate. I think they just keep betting small numbers, keep going, keep grinding, and take advantage of opportunities and don't make big bets.
Now, the one thing I got to stay away from is that stupid, those in-game bets, seriously, like those in-game bets are seriously, if you're just sitting there bored watching the game and you bet $5, like seriously, you could be down $50 in like about 10 minutes if you're not paying attention. Because I'm not doing anything special, but I've been betting $5 on a couple shots here and there. It's stuff like that you got to really keep an eye on. That's where you can really like get yourself in a little bit of trouble if you're not paying attention. So.
What kind of odds you get if you bet $5 on the next shot per se?
So most of the times for the 3-pointers are normally plus like anywhere from I've seen them plus like 220 to like 318, and the 2-pointers are basically minus about like 250 down to like I've seen one as low as minus 395. So, I mean, it's all, and once again, analytics come into it. I know a lot of teams are taking 3-pointers, but most of the majority of the shots that are going to be made because they're higher percentage are going to be the 2-pointers. So, I mean, it's just a little mix of both there that you got to take into account. Hey, while we were talking though, cause I'm on DraftKings right now, the line dropped again. It's now down to 6.5 for the Pistons, plus 6.5.
See, yeah, exactly. The numbers are coming in strong. People believe that. And what it is the whole belief that on a back-to-back, these players are tired. The Lakers played a tough game too, I believe, against the Sixers. It was a grind. So people believe that it's just going to be a messy kind of game. So taking the Pistons at the point in the points, and the Pistons play well at home, I think people do believe in that as well. So fascinating stuff in regards to betting down and how that works. So those that got in at 10 really got value and got in early when that situation took place. So that's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see the game. It makes it really, for me, more interesting to watch. I've not watched 4 or 5 Pistons games in a row in darn near 5 years. So that's awesome, man. So good for you. Like I said, this is great. I like the opportunity to see you win. I think it's great. I think that you're doing very well in regards to picking and choosing your spots. Now, what do you think are common mistakes that early bettors make when they start depositing, like say $200 in their account? Like you mentioned one about betting the in-game stuff. Anything else that people do that you say, okay, maybe try and avoid?
Well, I think honestly they're probably betting too big. If you like, this is no different for me. And I mean, how this goes with playing Hold'em. Like you gotta manage your bankroll. Like you want to, and you alluded to this before, limit your exposure. Like I'm not betting $100. The $100 free bets, I didn't have a choice, so I had to use those. But everything else, I bet 5, 10, maybe $20 if I had a feeling on it. And like last night, I lost that parlay. But I took that because I was getting a profit boost from DraftKings, so I bet the max on it, which was 25. But I ended up betting I made three other bets, and I made an in-game bet. I won the three other bets. I lost a $5 in-game bet, so I ended up making like $30-$40 yesterday.
Absolutely. So, that's the goal. And so you're looking right now for you, mostly the bets are coming in terms of the NBA player points, some speculation there in regards to who's going to score points, dabbing a little bit, taking calculated risks. And I think that's the smart thing to do is use found money early on, take advantage of the free bets, get yourself up there, and then have the opportunity to use that to maybe try a parlay that has good value and look for those good value things. I think too, in regards to where people are betting, I think it's obviously football, number one. Then you get down to basketball, and I think the UFC is a spot where a lot of people are putting money on, and boxing as well. People put a lot of action on who they believe are going to win these fights. I mean, people were talking left and right about how much they were betting on Conor and how much they were betting on Dustin and the value there. So real interesting stuff in regards to the sports that people pay attention to. It does make sports a whole heck of a lot better. I would say obviously avoid. I think college basketball, like you said, is really tough. Like we talked about it. I don't even know. Like I said, Michigan State hasn't played for 3 weeks. They're going on the road to take on Rutgers. Rutgers played well, defeated Indiana, but how do you figure who's going to play well there? Gabe Brown's out with the coronavirus. How do you know how these college kids are going to respond? I just think that college basketball is a little bit tough, but I think people go with injuries. They look at trends and the numbers in terms of how detailed these numbers are in regards to how often a team is covered at home, their last 10 games. The details are out there in the data science that you talked about.
Yeah, I like I said, I want to take a look at like State. Want to see have they even got to practice together like
this week they did on Monday and Tuesday they got together, and finally after a couple weeks they got back on the court.
Okay, so you know what? Unfortunately, like we talked about this. You look back what happened in the NBA when everybody went into the bubble. Like you could tell some of the teams were a little bit out of shape, and they ended up paying for it. So I mean, is that something you take into consideration? Michigan State's getting 2.5 points right now, and the over under is at 142. So Are they going to like, how's the defense going to be? Like, is 2.5 like really a fair line for them to begin, like with them being with them not having as much practice as Rutgers has got in? So I want to take a little bit of a look, because if it's something, once again, you want to try and take advantage of every situation that you can, and getting 100% profit boost on a bet here. It's a pretty juicy chance to make some money. So
okay, early thoughts. We'll break it all down next week on Wanna Bet, the big game, the Super Bowl. As we speak right now on DraftKings, it's Kansas City -3. It's -167 for that, over 56.5. Buccaneers are the underdog, +145. What are your early thoughts if you were to throw some money down and giving some advice? What do you think? Because I know you don't bet against Tom Brady, but Kansas City is going to be without a couple key linemen. How healthy can Patrick Mahomes really be? There's this aura of potentially Tom Brady's going to do big things. I think I'm going to stay away from the game altogether. Maybe the over at 56.5 looks like a promising fair bet, easy to go over. But the game that Tampa Bay, the game that Tom Brady last quarterbacked was like a really, I thought the Patriots and the Rams would easily go over, and that was one of the most intense defensive battles of all time.
Well, you got to take into account Jared Goff is Jared Goff. Now, granted, he's had some success, but I think it's been pretty limited. Patrick Mahomes and Brady, like, they're arguably the two best quarterbacks. Like, Brady's got to be the best quarterback that we've ever seen. I know people want to, we can argue all day about whatever, but he's the greatest quarterback we ever seen. Mahomes, I'm actually doing a project for my data science program on Mahomes and how to scheme for him defensively to try and limit his success, just because comes in his rookie year, plays one game, starts the entire next year, wins the MVP, takes them to the AFC Championship game, and loses in overtime. He didn't get the ball. Year after that, they win the Super Bowl. So you can't tell me that both these guys, Brady given his success and Mahomes just his natural talent, that they're not going to produce some points. Now, like you said, you had talked about it with them being down Kansas City being down linemen. I definitely want to stay away from the game, because Tampa Bay, especially the way their defense played against Green Bay, and I know Green Bay was without Bakhtiari, but Green Bay's got a really good offensive line. So, like, Tampa Bay's defense created some pressure, but Mahomes is Aaron Rodgers can run, but Mahomes is a little more elusive. So there should be some scoring in the game. I definitely take the over at 56 right now, but I don't want to touch either one of them with or without the points.
Yeah, early on, still too early. You want to see how things progress and how they evolve, and we'll do that for sure here at Wanna Bet. But so far, 1 weekend fills up over $500. So make sure you follow our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. If Phil has quality bets, we will definitely share them, share screenshots of his progress each and every Friday. Hopefully he continues to grow and gives out good advice. I think so far so good. We'll definitely potentially give out our best opportunities to make some money in terms of some bets next week in regards to everything. Probably the best, safest bet right now is to get in at the over at 56 and 56.5, I think. Get in, put in your money and have some fun with it. Not too many. I'm not going to do the who. I know a lot of people love the who's going to score first, coin toss, things like that. That's just for fun if you want to dabble, but if you're interested in getting a nice, healthy return, start with things that are pretty fair, and that's going over. I think that there's going to be a lot of offense, a lot of things going back and forth, and it's going to be an opportunity. Probably could get to 30, could be, 21-20 at the half right away, so that would make things a lot easier. But so far, so good. You're happy with it, and you're sticking with the NBA right now predominantly.
Yeah, right now, like you said, before I start venturing off into hockey and some of the other things, I want to make sure I find some ways to get some better research and get some better statistics. So, but yeah, the NBA, like I said, I've always followed basketball, so it makes it a little easier. But Yeah, stick with the NBA. Unfortunately, NFL's over for the season, so got to wait a little bit, but it's all good.
Make sure you follow the network at Detroit Podcast on Twitter to follow Phil's journey, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. All you got to do is type in Detroit Sports Podcast. You hit that subscribe button, and all our daily content finds you each and every day. Thanks, Phil. Another great episode of Wanna Bet. Good first week. Let's build on it.
Anytime, brother. John, be good, buddy.